All right, so I think we're coming on live. I never know when we are, so I think it's live now. Yes, we are live.
Awesome.
Welcome everybody to Resilience, a breakthrough journey to self-love. Resilience is your superpower. I'm so excited to be here today. We're going to be doing these live broadcasts on YouTube for the month of April on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern and on Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. And each time we're going to sit down with an amazing powerhouse woman who uses resilience as her own superpower. And we're going to talk about their journeys and really get down and dirty on what got them to where they are today. So we're super excited about this today. We have Amelia Benders here with us, Mills. And just to give you a little bit of background on where the program came from, like why I started doing this program. Well, I'm currently going over through a rebranding of my self-love program, and it's now going to be called Resilience. And so we're celebrating that. And the reason why we changed the name is for two reasons. One is I was trying to find a more impactful name for the program because it's such an incredible program. It's an 8-week coaching program for women on self-love. And I thought back to my own journey with transformation and with resilience. And I realized that when I asked people feedback on what are the attributes that they noticed in me, mostly all of them said that I was resilient. And that always like stayed with me. But then when we were talking about rebranding the name of the program, I realized that every single woman that's gone through the program has the quality of being resilient. She's a resilient woman. And it just clicked. It was like, like the clouds parted, the angels sang, and I was like, this is the name of the program. So this is in honor of all the women that have come through the doors and have worked with me on their self-love journey, and for all the women to come, but also for all the women out there who are also going through a journey of resilience and who want to overcome their challenges and obstacles and see how other women just like them have done it. So I'm super excited and honored to be bringing this program to you. And without further ado, I want to introduce our guest today who has come to sit down with us. And her name is Amelia Mills Bender. We call her Mills because her company is named Mills Bills. And she's a financial coach and business owner and speaker who focuses on teaching individuals and businesses how to manage and master their finances within 90 days. Yes, people, within 90 days. This is huge. Mills started her financial journey a little over 6 years ago and understands the frustration around money mismanagement, struggling with where to start, and the courage it takes to take ownership of your finances. Lord knows we have all been there. I have personally been there. I have personally taken some tips from Amelia and gone to some of her workshops, and they are amazing. Amelia recently published a book, and she has been on NBC6 and has helped over 35 clients achieve financial freedom. She's also donated to financial literacy programs to communities in need through the Mills mission. So I'm super honored to have Mills with us today. Thank you, Mills, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am truly honored that you asked me to be on your platform today. And I'm excited to see where this conversation goes and see how resilience progresses and grows as you launch this new rebrand. I'm really excited for you.
Thank you. Absolutely. How could I not invite you? You're one of the most amazing women that I know.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm super excited. So just to give the audience members a little bit of background about you. So tell us what you are up to every day. Like who is Mills and what are you up to?
So as you mentioned, I help individuals and businesses master their money within 90 days. And with that comes a lot of back-end work. So on any given day, I am working on new content, creating and editing videos, creating coursework, having one-on-one sessions with clients, working on group workshops, maybe doing a speaking engagement at a local university or conference. So on any given day, it looks a little bit different, but on the personal end, any given day, I could be hanging out with my dog and my cat, working out, doing something to kind of fill my cup back up a little bit as well.
Beautiful. And in the midst of all of that, you are helping people become financially literate. I can't even say it. That's how literate I am in finances. Financially literate. And you are empowering women and men everywhere to own their money story and to overcome their money challenges. So I honor
Absolutely.
you for that. It's an
Thank
amazing,
you.
amazing thing. How often have we grown up in school and things, and we become an adult and we're like, wait a minute, I never learned about budgeting, or I never learned about, writing a check, or how to, do these different things. So that's amazing work that you're doing. So
Thank you.
thank you for that. So as you know, today we are talking about resilience. And, you know, resilience is really, when you come down to it and you look up like the definition and you really connect with what it means, it really is a person's ability to handle stress, failure, rejection, criticism, and life in general. Because life has its roller coasters, and so far with the women we've interviewed, no woman has had like a beautiful paved road of roses and flowers like waiting for her. Here you go. Here's your calling. It never works out that way. So
No.
resilience is really one of those key attributes. And I really do believe it's a superpower that we get to access more. And
Mhm.
so, people tend to want to avoid stress or avoid challenges. And in reality, it's when we embrace these challenges and really take our stress head on and practice self-care during this whole process that we're able to really overcome and see ourselves for our greatness and get to where we are. So tell us a little bit about your journey. What was the thing that made you realize you wanted to do what you do now?
Yeah, so to kind of go into that, I need to give a little bit of a background story. So in high school, I was part of yearbook, and we weren't just a yearbook group that slapped together some pictures and content. I was that nerd. We went to competitions and conferences and whatnot. But I say all that because the professor for yearbook, all 3 years that I did it, who has kind of turned into a mentor of mine, would always tell me, stretch yourself for strengthening. If whenever I approached him and said, hey, I don't know how to do this, his response was, great, figure it out. Right. And in the moment, that was infuriating, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how I could overcome these obstacles. I got to a point where I would figure out exactly where I got stuck. So I knew how to answer the proper questions and continue moving forward. So I took that mentality with me when I went to college, and I was 18, maybe 6 weeks into my first semester at college, when I wanted to grab dinner with some friends. I checked my bank account to see what I could afford at dinner that night, and I only had $1.50 in my bank account. I didn't have any savings.
Wow, I can relate to that. That has
Right.
happened to me.
It's scary. And in that moment, my heart sank, and I felt my stomach kind of churn. And I was thinking to myself, dear God, how did I get in this situation? Um, and that point in time was really my aha moment of, I'm not as financially literate as I thought or hoped I was. I knew that I had messed up, but I didn't really know where I had gone wrong. And I started asking myself these questions of, where do I start? How do I make sure that this doesn't happen again? But most importantly, I had this realization of, oh my gosh, what else am I not asking myself? What do I not know that I need to ask myself, right? It was the you don't know what you don't know scenario. And I found myself so overwhelmed with these emotions and questions that I felt stuck. And that was my point in time where, up until that moment, I had let ignorance about finances be my excuse. But I couldn't use it as an excuse anymore because I had no other options. So that was the moment that really started the trajectory of my financial journey. At that point, I changed my major to finance. I specifically studied personal finance, worked in a variety of different industries. So I had a holistic understanding of money management in general. So that's really what started my, business. It just took a few years to kind of figure out how to package it in a way that I can help others. But that's really the moment that, started all of it.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful. And I'm sure a lot of us can relate. I can surely relate when I get surprised with like a balance. And often it's happened where it's a negative balance. I don't even have $1.50. I have like a negative balance. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how is this happening? So yeah, that's a huge realization. So, while we're going through our journeys and we're faced with, all these challenges and all these different things, and how resilient we are in overcoming those challenges, there are always things we have to overcome, right?
Mhm.
And so tell us about something or some things or whatever that is for you that you had to overcome to get to where you are now.
So there's actually a couple different main obstacles. The first one was I didn't think I was smart enough or capable
Mm.
to study finance. And it's not that I had ever been told this to my face, it just wasn't something that I had thought of about myself. I was always good at math, I was always good at, relating to people and teaching other people, but I never really put myself in this pedestal that I had kind of created of, yeah, you're smart enough to be a finance person, or you're smart enough to be an engineer or a physicist. Like it was just never something that I identified with. So when I had this realization and when I realized that I needed to change my major to finance and give myself a fighting chance, I didn't change my major because I thought I was capable. I changed my major because it scared the hell out of me. And I realized, if I'm going to be here to get a degree, I might not know what I'm going to do after graduation, but at least I can give myself a fighting chance with some basic knowledge of how to manage my money after college, regardless of how I made it. Right. At least I would have an understanding moving forward. So the obstacle first and foremost was truly believing in myself. And I always found myself in each class really going the extra mile. I poured myself over textbooks. I worked hard to get my grades up and, really understand money. Um, so I could make it work for me. So that was the first obstacle. And then the second obstacle, which a lot of females in finance can attest to this, not even just in finance, but engineering and other STEM fields as well. There's not a lot of females in those fields. And I remember I was maybe halfway through my college career where I attended this investing event on campus so I could learn more about how to invest. And I'm going around chit chatting with people and I keep getting the cold shoulder of sorts. And at one point I'm like, is everyone here acting weird or is it just me? Like, I don't know. And so I asked one of my good guy friends at the time, like, what's up? Like, am I doing something wrong? He's like, look around. And there was maybe 150 people at the event. He's like, now count how many women there are here. And I was maybe one of five out of the 150 that I could see. And he goes, people are giving you the cold shoulder because you're a woman. And at that, it really never hit me, the female versus male obstacle or the, glass ceiling, whatever you want to call it. I never really saw it until that moment. And that was the other obstacle of thinking, I really need to prove myself if I'm going to do this. You know, I need to shoot not for 100%, I need to shoot for 150% in whatever I do so I can get treated just as equally. So there were a couple different obstacles, but in hindsight, both of those scenarios, my self-doubt and external doubt, told me what my original mentor told me. Stretch yourself for strengthening, right? Push yourself to your limits so you can reach your goals.
So basically, stretching yourself helped you and allowed you or supported you to overcome the self doubt and the uncertainty that you were feeling.
Mm-hmm. I almost looked at my self doubt in particular, not as anxiety driven, but adrenaline driven, right? I specifically studied the most difficult electives in finance that the University of Central Florida had to offer, because in my mind, if I was able to get a B or a C in those classes that were, some of the more difficult ones, I would be okay in life, right? So I wasn't trying to kind of scrape by and meet the bare minimums. I used it as a way to really see what I was capable of. And time again, I proved to myself that I was capable enough. And then I started owning this title of a finance person and owning this title of smart with finances and money master or whatever you want to call it, I started to grasp that ideal for myself.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. That's so empowering because you're actually putting it into practice and seeing your results and your feedback. And that's actually educating and like filling you with the right things that you need to continue. It's almost like you're filling yourself up as you go. You're like, okay, I have this feedback. I have this confirmation that I can do this. And it's like you're just continuing to go from that. So it's like a self-generating empowerment. Yeah. That's beautiful. Amazing. So something about what you were saying leads us to the next question, which is a time when you could recall a time when you realized how resilient you were. And, you first had to overcome these challenges of, the discrepancies in your industry and your self-doubt of yourself, even being qualified to do this. You overcame that. You started launching your business. You were going, tooting away. And then what happens?
Mm-hmm. So a time that I can specifically recognize it is probably more recent. So I won't go in detail of how I started Mills Knows Bills and all of that journey, but it took me some time to identify myself as a financial professional. It's taken me some time to identify myself as a business owner as well. That is uncharted territory. And with that, there's no, as any other business owner out here can attest to, there's no guideline or roadmap for us when it comes to becoming a business owner. We're kind of just figuring it out as we go along, which was different than me going through a finance major, right? I knew which class I had to take next. I knew the content I had to read or be tested on. But it wasn't until I hired a business coach back in, I think it was end of December of 2020, that he really stretched me for strengthening as well. And he kind of pushed me to my limits of figuring out how I could take all my knowledge, figure out a way to package it in a way that makes sense for a consumer and them being able to get the same results. And as I was going throughout these 8 weeks with him, he would constantly tell me, you're a business owner, you're a business owner, you're a business owner. And it wasn't until I quit my part-time job about a month ago that I truly stepped into this ideal that I'm a business owner. And I stepped into it not fully confident. There's still days that I wake up right now that I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Am I okay? Last week was a really tough week as a business owner, but it's okay. I can see that this is not the end all be all. And one hiccup or one tough day, it's worth all of the good days. And it's worth the autonomy and the generational wealth that I'm creating by having my own business. So if someone else is watching this and they're like, I don't know how I can step into it, you don't have to step into it 100% confidently. There are days that we still struggle. It's just a matter of pushing through it.
And being resilient. Exactly. And you're accessing your resilient actually on a day-to-day basis. You're in the midst of it right now, which is amazing. Absolutely. With your journey, with your business. And so I love what you said. And it leads me to the next thing, which is something that we all tend to experience at some point or another in our journeys, and also as business owners and in our journeys in general, which is the big elephant in the room, failure.
Yeah.
And so, but no one likes to talk about our failures. No one likes to talk about failure. But why is that? Because failure is actually really, if you look at it in retrospect, when you look back, you're like, oh, I'm actually glad that happened to me because now it got me to where I am today. But while it's happening or before it happens, you're like avoiding the failure. You're like, I don't want to fail. And so what has failure meant to you in your journey? And can you remember a time when you consider like having your greatest failure? And if so, how did you overcome that?
So in February of 2019, I went to a conference and I listened to Sarah Blakely talk. And for those of you that don't know, Sarah Blakely is the founder and owner of Spanx. And she talked about failure in her speech. And she talked about how every night at the dinner table, her father would ask her and her brother how they failed that day. And if they didn't have something to say, he was upset. And that started me changing my mindset on viewing failure. And I feel like personally, there's this negative connotation around failure that if you fail, the whole experience was bad, right? And we don't want to tell anybody about it because that means that we're bad, right? But what I've been realizing as I've been trying new things with my business, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and, stretching myself for strengthening and kind of going out in this uncharted territory, is that you learn a lot with failure. And is it scary to put yourself out there and potentially fail? Absolutely. But I learned so much more from failure than I do success. And not all of failure is bad. So, for example, I hired a company a few months ago to do some work for me. And it was something that I could have done myself, but I was at a point where it was worth my time not to do it. It was worth paying them to do this. And throughout the whole process, things were going okay. And I knew halfway through that I should have said something about how it was just okay. But I didn't. I didn't have that confidence to kind of step up and say something. And it wasn't until the end product was delivered that I was fed up. And things had gotten so bad that I no longer work with them. And I still respect these individuals in their own right. They delivered a great product for me, but it wasn't worth all of the headache and the miss out on business on my end and all of these other things that came with it. So do I view that as a failure? In some respects, yes. I failed to stand up for myself. What have I learned from it? Stand up for myself. I am paying someone to do a service for me. I deserve to get the quality that I expect. In the end, though, I have an excellent end finished product. I'm not mad about it at all. I think that by the lack of communication on my end, I missed out on some business because of it, because things weren't working properly, but I learned from it. It's okay. It made for a difficult week last week, but it's not the end all be all. I'm not going to die because of it. I'm not going to become homeless because of it. I learned, so that's the most recent failure that I've been kind of working through both tangibly and mentally. So.
Wow. Yeah. And it's amazing how if that wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have seen where you were lacking like confidence or, using your voice or, like that, uh, how would you say it? Like assertiveness to say,
Yes.
hey, this isn't working for me. But if that wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have seen that. It wouldn't have given you feedback. And so then you wouldn't know that you weren't being assertive in what your needs are and having your needs met.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I try not to focus on the negative part, right? It's someone once told me, regret nothing because at one point it was what you had wanted.
Exactly.
Right? So even if it doesn't align with you right now, that's okay. I still look at the end product that I have, the usage I have of it. Even to this day, it's the kinks are worked out. It's going smoothly now. All of the negative parts are just water under the bridge, right? It's a learning experience, and I don't regret going through it at all. The frustrations of it, was it a little annoying? Absolutely, but it's going to come up time and time again. That's just how it is. But yeah, failure it's learning.
Exactly. It's beautiful because once you shift your mind to that, to realizing that everything is here to serve you, everything is here for your highest good, then you start realizing, oh, okay, even though I thought this was an epic failure, it actually was here to serve me and to serve a purpose, and it has value for my life and a benefit for my life. And when you start navigating life like that, it's like a whole new world opens up. And yes, it's challenging. And yes, there's obstacles. And yes, sometimes you feel like you're having the worst week ever, like you did last week. But then you realize, okay, it's all worth it because it all got me to where I am now.
Yeah. And even if we go at the root of my financial journey of having that $1.50 in my account, in that moment, I felt like an epic failure. But 6.5 years later, I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for that situation. So it's not always an immediate result. It's not always an immediate, change of mindset. Sometimes it takes days, weeks, months, years. But I'm grateful for that experience because I wouldn't be a business owner today because of it.
Amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how you were able to tie that together and show what, like, the arch of your journey. That's beautiful for those of us out there who are wondering or curious about stepping out on your own or doing something, like living your dream, stepping into your mastery. There's an example right there. She had a failure that she thought it was an epic failure 6.5 years ago. And because of that, it allowed her to see what she was called here to do. She stepped into it, and almost 6.5 years later, 7 years later, she is a business owner and she's helping impact people all over the world. So that's amazing. Thank you for that. But you've also mentioned a few things a few times along the way, and this leads us to my next question. You've mentioned along the way that you've had support, that you've had a coach for this or a team for that, or someone that you hired for this or that. And it's interesting because one of the common themes among women, especially women who are resilient, and women not only that I've interviewed on this program, but women that I've worked through in my practice, my coaching practice on transformation and self-love, one of the common themes we have when we're resilient is that we feel that in order to get things done, we got to do it ourselves. And we take the bull by the horn and we just go for it and do it ourselves. And if it has to be done right, it has to be done by us, And oftentimes what ends up happening when we do that is we burn ourselves out. We exhaust ourselves because it really does take a village. It doesn't just take a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise your dreams, to, bring something to fruition, to live your life, And so tell us about your journey about opening up when you've been challenged, opening yourself up to support and to community.
So the pinnacle for my support is my husband. And he has seen me pretty much since that first day of $1.50. He met me maybe 6 months after that fact, but he has seen me from the beginning struggling to figure it out, put all the puzzle pieces together, make something work. So by seeing my entire journey and by knowing me to the extent that he does, when it came time in October of 2019, when I was undergoing my second shoulder surgery, I really kind of took a step back mentally and was thinking to myself, like, I'm not happy. I need to do something, but I don't know what I want to do. And he actually was the one who gave me the idea to start Mills Knows Bills.
And wait, just for background for the audience, at that time you were actually working full time in like a corporation or company or something. You weren't doing Mills Bills full time. Okay, great.
No, I was working elsewhere. I was helping people with their budgets on the side and kind of doing things like that. But it wasn't, Mills Knows Bills was not even a concept at that point. And my husband gave me the idea one day of, if this is what you enjoy doing, make some videos about it. Start going through it. And I was like, well, I don't know how to make videos, edit them, put them on YouTube. Like, I don't know. And he's like, learn about it. Find an online course that teaches you how to do it and then do it. So anytime I had self-doubt, he was kind of the equivalent of my first mentor of, figure it out. Right. But he is by far the most supportive person I've ever had in my life, but also stretches and pushes me as well. So I started slowly figuring this out when I got to the point where I was teetering on the edge of becoming full-time business owner, or even part-time business owner, part-time elsewhere. Having someone to bounce ideas off of and kind of just push you off the edge into the pool. I was kind of ready to jump, but not ready. That was really what told myself, I can believe in myself too. having other people believe in me. And it wasn't so much of having someone help me do the stuff along the way, but tell me like, no, you are worth it. No, you will be successful. And as I started Mills Knows Bills, I needed some outside professional help. So I got some business coaches. I've had people help me with my social media and PR, but realizing that I need to focus on what I'm good at so I can have other people who are good at other things make everything about Mills Knows Bills so much better. So at first I did have the mindset of I need to figure this all out on my own, but having support has made it so much easier.
And yeah, that's beautiful. And what was it like for you to finally allow yourself to open up and let people in and support, and allow yourself to receive support?
It was like a weight was lifted off my chest. It really was. And when I took that final step of becoming full-time business owner, Mio, I know you'll appreciate this. It was as if everyone else was like, yes, she's ready. I mean, March, I tripled what I made in March in comparison to February, just because I had opened myself up to the opportunity of bringing in more clients, believing in myself, stepping into this ideal that I am a business owner and taking on that personification. So it was as if everything else had positively reinforced that idea.
Amazing. That's phenomenal. You had like your biggest month ever, and that's when you stepped into the abyss, right? The unknown that we're oftentimes so scared about, but in reality, it's actually stepping into our power. And you stepped into it, you know, either gracefully or not gracefully, whatever that was for you. Because sometimes we step into things and we're a mess, you know, but we step into it, and you notice that the community was there to support you. You noticed that you had people on your team, and you noticed that there was a need for the things that you were working on. There was a need for it in the community.
Yeah. And one of the first business coaches I hired, she would always tell me, I actually would always say, well, what if this fails? What if I fail? And this was a year and a half ago. And she said, well, what if you succeed? I was like, oh, I never thought of that.
Yes.
And that started, you know, the mindset shift of failure versus success and, you know, all of that fun stuff. But yeah, I felt like what I had been asking myself as I stepped off into the abyss of full-time entrepreneur was, what if this succeeds?
Oof. So powerful. So powerful.
It's really
Ladies and gentlemen, write that one down. That's a powerful little nugget for you guys to really take notes. This is great stuff. And that's amazing. So, you know, we're looking over like your whole trajectory of your journey and like everything that it took you to get to where you are and everything you had to overcome. What would you say you've learned from your journey? What would you say is like the biggest things you've learned?
I can do this. I know that's really simple, but that's the main thing that's been my biggest obstacle is, can I actually do this and can I do it well? And I'll still question myself with it, but then a couple days later I see something come through or a new client and yeah, I can do this. And the biggest thing that I've learned is, okay, let me back up a little bit. You know, when you're watching a TV show and the show is already done, right? But you're starting it from the beginning, knowing what the last episode is going to show. And you see the main character go through all these struggles, but you see that they still end up in a good spot. That's kind of how I feel lately, right? I might not know what the ending looks like, but I know that the ending is going to be good, regardless of what happens. So focusing on that ending and just taking every piece of the journey along the way has helped me believe that I can do this. Nothing is going to be so difficult that I can't overcome it. Whether it's with support of someone else or on my own, it's okay. Right? So that's my biggest takeaway. I'm the star in my own TV show.
Yes. And the key is, I love that, how you put that. The key is to focus on your last episode. What is your last episode going to look like? And just keep that as your true north, as like what you follow. I love that metaphor. That's amazing. I'm going to use that. I'm going to quote you on that one.
Go for it.
That's phenomenal. I love that. So All right. So as we wrap up our conversation here, it's been amazing to sit down with you. I wonder, and I always ask this to all the people I interview, for to leave something with the audience.
Okay.
So, what would be some words of wisdom for the audience that you would leave with them today? People that may be, going on their own journey or similar journeys to you of resilience. What would you say to them?
So because I'm in that finance realm, of course, I'm going to feel called to talk about money a little bit. A lot of people think that I started Mills Knows Bills because I was good with money at first. And that's not the case. I was not good with interest rates or understanding the jargon or all that. You don't have to be. Does not matter your background. It does not matter your current thoughts about how good you are at math or money. You can do that. It's okay. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of creatives who have been telling themselves for years, well, I didn't study finance, so I'm not good at money, or I'm not a business person, so I'm not good at money. I wasn't either. I wasn't either until I started learning it. And it's okay to understand that you're not where you want to be, but don't view that as permanent. You can always change that, right? So whether it's money or some other aspect of your life, wherever you are right now, it's not permanent, and you have the capacity to change it just by being willing to learn and accept potential failure. Because failure in and of itself is not bad. Like I said earlier, it's a learning experience. The journey doesn't have to be beautiful, but know that the end result can be.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I always love to give failure another F word to replace it, which is
Okay.
feedback.
Feedback. Ooh, I like it.
So failure is feedback. That's all it is. It's like,
Yes, it
okay,
is.
what did I learn from this? What did I, where can I improve? What can
Mhm.
I add and move forward? So I love your journey of resilience. It's so powerful. I'm so grateful that you came on today, and it's so beautiful to see you thriving and really stepping into your greatness. And I can't wait to see where Mills Knows Bills goes next. I'm going to be watching you. I'm going to be attending your workshops. I'm going to be doing your budget programs. I'm all about it because I need the help. So I will definitely be there. And for all of you out there, follow Mills Knows Bills. She's amazing. She has an Instagram page. What's your Instagram for people to follow you?
Instagram is just Mills Knows Bills.
Beautiful. That's Mills, right?
Yes.
Mills
Yes.
Knows Bills. So
Yeah.
follow her on
Yeah.
Instagram. She has amazing content. Exactly. And just so you guys know, I'm going to be here every week in April on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, and on Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube Live with these amazing powerhouse women, where we're talking about resilience being your superpower. And my next self-love program starts on April 19th. If you're interested, you'll see the link in the comments below. And also there's a wait list for the next self-love program, because there's people that are filling
That's
up to want to come to the
fantastic.
next one. So if you can't come on April 19th, put yourself on the wait list, and we hope to see you there. Thank you so much. Be kind to yourselves, practice kindness, love yourself, and remember that resilience is your superpower. Thank you so much, Amelia. It was such a
Thank
pleasure to have you
you.
today.
Thank you so much for having me, and congrats on already having a waiting list. Good for you, girl. Woo! I'm so excited for you.
Yes, we're resilient, girl.
We are. We
All
are.
right, everybody. Love you.